Yeah?
Elaine, can you come over here? I found something.
Yeah, sure. Hey.
Okay, look at this. I was just sitting minding my business, strolling through one of the many aqueducts within the Wonka well. And coming in down the river in the aqueduct was a tiny little, well, I guess a very large paper boat. Made up of 160 pages of script.
Wow, that's wild. Tell that.
About that. Yeah, I'm really good at estimating it. It's a skill I got in my art school days.
Oh, sick.
I'm pulling it out of the water. Oh my god. Is this a Wonka script?
Wait, I thought we covered everything, Felicia. What do you mean a script? Like we
covered everything too.
We've done the Broadway, we've done the opera, 2 movies. How could it be anything
2001
else?
Scott Frank Wonka script.
2001? But there wasn't a 2001 movie.
No,
there was a 2005 one, but, that's like the closest you got.
What a mystery to uncover.
What?
I'm excited, but also a little bit devastated we have to go through this story once again.
Same. But
you know what?
It called to us.
Now in this moment, we're going to time jump to 2 hours later where we both read the script, okay? Wow, what a great script. Can't wait to talk about that.
Fucking shit. Is this not the best fucking shit?
It's the best thing I've ever read in my life.
Canon is fucking insanely beautiful. Hot damn.
This was a weird intro.
I highly enjoyed it.
I feel like
it was a ride.
I knew what I was doing, but once I pulled the script out of the aqueduct, I had no plan.
Felicia, you also had a little giggly smile every time you said aqueduct. Like you were just so excited to get to use that word. You were like, and a little aqueduct. And there was
I Googled it before recording to make sure that it wasn't completely incorrect.
It was so good.
Sometimes the word aqueduct is enough to make your day brighter.
And that's the message we really want to take home on this podcast. Welcome to Wonka Watch. We're 2 people who thought we didn't care about the Wonkaverse until we learned that there is a prequel in the making starring Timothée Chalamet, and we have now entered a rabbit hole that we now call the Wonka Well, awaiting the prequel's release, which we call the Wonka Rapture. And we've gone too far because this is our 63rd episode, and no one thought we could talk about Wonka for 63 episodes. But guess what? We have to talk about it until at least December, and most likely way beyond that. So here we are. Woohoo! I'm Elaine.
And I'm Felicia.
Yeah.
Hold on. I want to count something real quick. I want to see. Okay, so we've reviewed the 1971 movie, the 2005 movie, the novel, the Broadway and West End, the opera, and then this, and then Tom and Jerry Wonka. Are there any other main Wonka plots that I'm missing that we've reviewed? I don't think so.
No, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Well, it does mean we've covered the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory 8 times.
Oh my god!
Which no wonder we're feeling a little
in
burnout.
A year.
Yeah, in like a year.
Let's put that in context. Also, it's not like over 2 years. It would still feel like a lot, but in one single year, we've done 8.
We've almost done an adaptation a month. Like it's, and we spent like 2 weeks on most of those too.
Oh my god.
We spent entirely too much time talking about this.
Jesus.
But yeah, no, actually, I feel like we're sounding very dire. I'm actually the most excited to talk about this than I think I have been in months on the podcast, because what a salve to our wounds this script felt like it was.
It honestly, like, finally unique things that I liked.
Yes.
Like different things that I liked, not just different for the sake of being different, but I was like, I feel this and I see how like these characters make sense to me still based on like the novel and the things you have culture wise about these characters. Like it made sense and was enjoyable, which is
I was reading it and I was like, I think Elaine might like this. Which I was like, this is crazy.
Rare.
Like I feel like I've liked a few of them, even if I haven't loved them. I was like, this is like Elaine's whole business. I love this thing too. I mean, here's all you need to know. My TV rides around on a skateboard all the time, and at one point he calls Charlie a twink. I'm not joking. That happens.
Like, what do we do with that?
It's amazing.
It's everything.
This script was sent to us by our listener, Evelyn. They said they found it on a chocolate-fueled Tumblr browsing session and asked if we would want the file. And I was like, yes, of course I want the fucking file,
yes.
Evelyn. Give it to me!
That's when they made it into a boat, and then they sent it down the river.
Exactly. So that's how we have it now.
Thank you, Evelyn.
But yeah, I have a nice little annotated PDF, and we're going to go through this whole goddamn thing, and I will give you the backstory on everything I learned about the Scott Frank script, because I did some fucking research about it.
And this is going to be a two-parter. That's how excited we are.
There's this horrible part of me that it's almost so good I can't believe it could have been real. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's part of me that feels like someone could have made this fake. Do you know what I mean? Like, made it up. Because we don't know how it exists or who's the source for leaking it. Apparently, some people say it was Discord, and apparently it was originally leaked on 4chan. And I'm like, what is happening? 4chan.
Why? Whoa. Long time since I heard that.
Yeah, so bizarre. I don't know that side of things, but all of the details check out as far as I can tell. But before we get into that, oh my God, is that another paper boat?
It has music.
The rats are driving it. Oh my God, that's crazy. They have a little piece of paper for me. Thank you. Oh, this is a little one. Universal Chocolate Twosome Emporium is opening up an LA location. Ooh, that's awesome, rats. Can you give me another one? Wow, you've given me an iPod, an iPod Touch. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, wow, that's so.
You've given me an iPod Touch preloaded with the new Timothée Chalamet Apple TV ad.
Oh my God, that's
so crazy,
I caught a
rats.
Snippet of that today.
I'm so proud of you, rats, for doing this.
Squeak. I don't know what rats.
I think you're doing fine.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't watched the whole thing. It's called Call Me with Timothée Chalamet.
Oh.
It's basically, the concept of the ad is Timothée Chalamet feels jilted because he has not been asked to be in an Apple TV production, which is a bold move of Apple TV. But I do think, I will say, the only thing about this is it does kind of show the cultural relevancy of Timothée Chalamet to the fact that he could lead an ad like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because if you don't know who Timothée Chalamet is, this ad makes no goddamn sense. Because it's just like, why is he so invested? Yeah, I got this actual ad on YouTube earlier today, but it was only a small section of it. So, all right, do you want to do?
Count us down.
3, 2, 1, play.
Wow, Apple. Best Picture.
So amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in 2 Best Picture nominees last year.
Yeah, no, I knew that. You were best.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Jennifer Lawrence. Selena Gomez documentary. Why don't I have a documentary? Best comedy on TV. I could do TV.
I'm sorry, is that a rooftop gazebo cafe?
Okay, what the fuck is he doing in this one? He's in a green bathtub with a fucking Sphinx cat.
What's going on, Jason?
What up, Timmy? I just wrapped my new Apple Series Chief of War.
Wait, you have a new Apple show?
At this point, he doesn't.
Yeah. Who doesn't at this point? Like you just said. It's just Sudeikis with a mustache. Scorsese. DiCaprio.
Yeah, maybe it's actually really funny, guys.
That actually, honestly, pretty.
I didn't see that it's just Sudeikis with a mustache before, and that did kill me. There's one
good.
shot of it, though, where he's sitting in a green bathtub with a Sphinx cat next to him in the weirdest photo shoot of all time. You know what, Timothée Chalamet? You fucking killed that, man.
That was good, and it was funny and self-aware, and
it was very funny. I wasn't sure how the whole thing would be, but it was really good. Good job, Apple TV. Well
way
done.
to go, Apple. You won another one. You're taking over the world. 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up for our corporate overtakers. We love it.
We love it. You have all the data on us and you're selling it. Thank you.
We love your corporate monopoly. It's so good.
It's so nice. We love that you set up your technology so we have to get new ones every 2 years or something. You know, it's great.
I love that you absolutely resist to use USB-C cords, but it's fine.
It's fine.
let's talk about this script. So I did a lot of research. Basically, the 2005 movie had a very fraught production history and was basically rumored to have been in the works since around 1998.
Whoa.
Took them a real long time, and it changed hands about like 6 times throughout that process. But at one point, the script was in the hands of Scott Frank. And I was like, who the fuck is Scott Frank? So I did some research. So Scott Frank is best known as the screenwriter of Minority Report, which have you seen Minority Report, Elaine?
I have not.
It's the movie by Steven Spielberg where Tom Cruise is not a criminal, but will be in the future. And like the police can tell who's going to commit crimes in the future.
I had to watch that in school. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good movie, but I remember the premise of that. Yeah.
And more recently, he was the writer, creator, producer, and director of The Queen's Gambit. So he's a many Emmy winner now. So good job, Scott Frank. But he was attached to the project when Gary Ross, who was the director of Pleasantville, Seabiscuit, and The Hunger Games, what a combo. And when he was connected when Gary Ross was set to direct.
Wow.
But it was announced he had resigned from the Wonka project in 2001, and I found an interview he did with IGN back then, confirming the rumors about him leaving. So he said, the report is absolutely true. Minority Report took much longer than I expected. I had to jam Charlie in as well as 2 other projects that I had committed to before Minority Report in that time. And then he said, I had high hopes for Charlie. And he wanted to write the script because of his children. He said, I have 3 children and I wanted to write a film for them. When I took the job, I said with infinite arrogance to anyone who would listen that I would do it better than the first film did because Dahl hated it, which is bold.
I mean, that is a very bold statement. We love confidence.
So he wrote 2 drafts of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory thing. And he said they were handsome enough drafts, but they didn't jump in the way that I would have liked them to. What more could they be doing? Because these scripts are jumping all over the place, man.
Yes.
They're like jumping jelly beans.
It's like if you threw a pound of chocolate on a trampoline and just sat back and watched what happened.
He also said, in this day and age of Harry Potter and Lemony Snicket, for my mind, the new doll and kids with guns, how do you make Wonka relevant? Kids with guns is so good.
Lemony Snicket, Harry Potter, and kids with
guns. How do you make Wonka relevant?
How do we bring Wonka to that generation?
It's the kids with guns is such a weird third
Why have we made Scott Frank's voice like that? I don't know how to do it.
I think you made Scott Frank's voice like that, but I do love it. I'll keep it going. Pinpointing issues and translating Dahl's novel covers. The second half of the novel is a tour with no narrative drive whatsoever.
Thank you.
I didn't have a good solution to either of these problems. It was frustrating and starting, quite honestly, to depress me.
Best friends.
But
feel that.
He's right.
You're right. No wrong.
Warner Brothers and the Roald Dahl estate wanted Frank to stay with the project. They were anxious for the movie and more encouraged, I think, than I was. They wanted the scripts by July 1st, but my heart was no longer in it. So then he decided to write an original movie for kids and to get back to other projects. With regard to his numerous overwhelming commitments, he asked Warner Brothers to be let go of his obligations from Charlie. And then I spent a lot of time thinking about who could have played this Wonka.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking back to the list of people who could have played the Wonka. You remember the 2005 list? That fucked up, insane list makes a little bit more sense knowing that this draft existed.
You know what? So true.
Apparently, the one that was most rumored to be it was Nicolas Cage for this draft, and that makes sense.
Oh my God.
The only other person who I thought would have been really good was Eddie Izzard.
Oh, yeah.
For this, I think Eddie Izzard would have killed this, but Nicolas Cage would have been a phenomenal Wonka with this version.
Great. I might even throw in a little Weird Al just for a moment. What?
I would love a Weird Al. Actually, no, he would be so good at this
Weird
Wonka.
Al Wonka would be, he would kill that.
I want to add someone to my official Wonka list because I never put him on there before. I want to formally nominate for one of my Wonka castings, Alan Cumming. Just put him on the list and we can move on. Not for this, but I just need him in the picture.
Yeah, I support.
So I got that from the Twitter account Wonka Worldwide. So that's a thing.
The things that exist.
I don't know.
The internet with Wonka.
And then I found a Wonka wiki catalog of rumors about the remake. And then from the most recent issue of Fate magazine features a cover story on screenwriter Scott Frank, the man who's writing Minority Report, as well as the unnecessary remake of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So these were like people on forums getting really pissed about it.
Oh my God.
But then Frank talks about taking on the Wonka project, saying, I don't love the original film because it's not the book. I love the book, and I feel like the tone of the book is different from the tone of Willy Wonka. And I want to make a movie about the kid, not about Willy Wonka. Roald Dahl is one of the reasons I'm a writer, and that book in particular is what introduced me to the narrative. I don't love the original film the way everyone else loves it. It didn't affect me. I was let down because I love the book so much. I suppose if I'd seen the movie without being so in love with the book, I might have had a different effect. But it was made real for me in a way that was so disappointing. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I just don't love the movie. And I know a lot of people do it, so I feel like there's another version of that. And it's not a musical. No one's going to sing the Candyman. You know what I mean?
No wonder the Dahl Foundation was ready to support it. I mean, I do like that he had such a actual personal connection to the story.
Yeah.
And it shows. And
you know, this draft is fucking insane. I will say it is funny that he was like, I'm gonna be true to the book, and then he realized the book is awful, and he just was like, fuck it, who gives a shit? I'm making up anything I want.
Like,
that's really what it feels like. It feels so tonally different from the book, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, it's like he took the best parts of the book and then just like turned the dial up and went in like
it feels
weird
like
directions that still felt very right. Like every change, I was like, that makes so much sense. That makes the story so much more intriguing. This is good. Like we have actual motivation for characters. That makes sense now. Like it's
oof. I'm so like bummed we never got to see this.
I know. I like even a stage production, you know, like a play. Like,
but
God,
I think
anything.
this one is also so well suited to actually be on film. Like it's obviously written for the screen and adapts it in such good ways. So
I could see it so well.
Oh, it was so good.
It. Yeah.
So we need to start.
Yeah.
This opens. I have the script up in front of me so I can read from it because remember, this is probably the most anyone has ever talked about this script because it only resurfaced in August. It opens, we hear an orchestral fanfare, and then we see in giant letters, worldwide global news, where have you gone, Willy Wonka? So it basically starts with a news report documentary about Willy Wonka's life. So this is our Wonka backstory. Abandoned at his birth, Willy Wonka spent his childhood in an orphanage with few of the amusements and comforts other children had. And then we see a young Willy Wonka, age 8, sitting alone. His only joy came from the occasional chocolate sister Amenuza would give to him on his birthday. So he's an orphan at a place with nuns, but he's got the chocolate for his birthday parallels with Charlie.
Yeah, and it just like Wonka as an orphan kind of makes sense to me because he is this loner, and then that's where his emotional connection to chocolate happens. It's such a good origin story. It makes so much sense.
Exactly. And then they interview Sister Amenuza, and she's like, he didn't speak much, you know, he just only liked chocolate. But the thing is about this is they do not show Wonka's face during this entire thing. Yeah. It was so like there's a strategically placed sun glare, or he's washing a window and you can't see it. It's like foggy. So I want you to know you do not see Wonka's face until he is in the factory.
Yes.
Like it takes so long.
Good. And I like that because then, you know, they kind of did that in 2005 in the beginning. Like you don't fully see Wonka. He's like behind the lollipop and stuff like that.
They do the same thing in all of them. You don't see Wonka until you get in the factory, but it does.
But like the joke of like the body is there, but you can't actually see them though specifically. I thought it was hilarious. The sun glare cracked me up.
You know what's also wild? Wonka is canonically from Minnesota.
Mind blowing.
I love how all the other versions are like, we don't need to place it in a place and time. And Scott Frank's like, yeah, I fucking do. It's in Duluth, Minnesota, bitch.
He's like, of all the places I'm going to look at America, that's it. Minnesota Wonka.
Midwestern bitch.
Midwestern Wonka. Oh my God.
So yeah, he had his humble beginnings at the tiny candy store in Duluth. And then it just kind of shows off his candy inventions. There's an invention I think might be new. Candy balloons you blow up to enormous sizes before you pop them with a pin and gobble them up. And then they do the bird's egg. People with the adaptations, they love the fucking bird's egg.
Yeah, they're so into it.
And I think the bird's egg has been ruined for me by the pink sugary baby bird from the opera. Because I keep hearing it and it pisses me off.
Oh, God.
But I was also thinking, like, the logistics of this. Did Wonka volunteer for this footage? Like, is this a body double? It's probably a body double. I didn't think about that.
Oh, that would be so funny to like if you got a behind the scenes cut of that body.
And it's just like some random fucking guy. So then they have an interview with a bunch of kids where the announcer's like, what is it about Wonka's chocolate that makes it so special? And this really doesn't beat the drug allegations, because the kid goes, it makes you feel happy. Like you can do anything. And I mean anything. It gives you more energy. It gives you verve.
And then there's an adult, serious. No, it's the quality. Then smiles. And the fact that it makes you feel so damn good. It's
drugs. Like drugs.
Drugs.
This is cocaine. This is cocaine.
This is cocaine?
Yeah. I don't
cocaine.
know. It's cocaine.
Hey, yeah, it's me. I just really thought Wonka and cocaine really made a lot of sense.
Are you Natasha Lyonne? What happened?
I'm sorry, Scott Frank. I don't know what's happening.
Within a few short years, Wonka was making 500 different varieties of chocolate. I just thought that was interesting. 500. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You know what this one thing was missing? Fickle rubber. No fickle rubber here.
Yeah, which, you know.
But it's okay. But here's the thing. He was already making gum in this one. He made bubble gum that doesn't lose its taste. And then we have the whole Prince Pondicherry thing.
Mm-hmm.
That still happens.
I just like still think like never fits in really. I do like that this is like, again, more documentary style, so it makes sense to kind of throw it in there, but I'm just always like, it always feels weird, and I am never like, man, we needed that. Yeah, it takes me out of it. Takes me out of the narrative, you know?
It feels
like
so...
You introduced possibly a really cool story. Again, I think I mentioned it when we first talked about it, where there could be a whole like war that happens because this palace like melts. Someone could have died. Like surely there would be repercussions. This prince could get really angry. So yeah, every time it's brought up, I'm just kind of like, why are we, you know, like, give me more goodies of other things. But
yeah, so then the announcer says, invigorated and inspired by the Pondicherry experience, which what a band name, Wonka decided to build an even more fantastical structure. And now we see a dozen steam shovels digging a giant hole in the ground, designed by Wonka himself and built by over 10,000 craftsmen. Wonka's chocolate factory, it was to be a proud monument to the inventing genius. And then this Wonka brings in like cacao trees from Brazil and monkeys to like bring the cacao trees. I also wrote here boats. Don't think we've ever seen the sea in Wonka films.
No.
What a great note from me.
The trees need the monkeys to climb them in order to pollinate properly, which I didn't know monkeys pollinated things. I don't know much, despite the amount of hours I've put into Planet Zoo.
Who knows?
But
1 billion gallons of water was diverted from a secret underground source. And I wrote here, I wonder if this water source is what makes the chocolate have that special quality.
Oh.
Don't get that answered. This never comes up again.
It's
to
just
the point
Avion.
where I forgot about this theory I had.
The secret ingredient is Dasani.
Yeah. Oh my. Ugh. Don't even make me think about that.
I did. There's a line called "shot of worker wearing sunglasses," and I first read it as "shot of a wonker." Wearing sunglasses. I was like, corrupted. I am corrupted and dead on the inside.
But yeah, there's all these shots of workers being fed a huge feast for lunch, and it says Wonka took good care of his workers. And a craftsman talks to the interviewer and says, we all felt like we were part of something special. More than that, like we were part of a family. And I said, like, not the startup red flags, but it does seem to be.
Damn.
But this is really wrong. Refreshing. Very refreshing.
Yeah, Wonka like really caring about the workers and being social. I thought it was interesting to show like Wonka as a social person as well, because again, we're just so used to him being isolated and just different and weird. But like here, it's like, oh, like we all know Wonka, and
Wonka
again,
knew everyone's
personable.
name and birthday. He was never too busy to stop and chat, share a cup of hot chocolate, which I do think, I don't know why it is fucked up to think of Wonka drinking hot chocolate. I don't know why that feels fucked up.
Like it's kind of like I could see him being like liquid chocolate. I don't know, guys. Like the chocolate river goes in to make like, you know, chocolate bars. I could see him being weird about like, it's just a texture thing. you know,
totally.
Like,
he's
right?
like, it's just a little too thin. Like, I don't know. Like, why wouldn't you just eat normal chocolate then?
Right. It's like, might as well chew. I don't get it. It's kind of like when people don't like melted cheese, you know, it's like, which I can't relate, but you know, respect.
So, but then just 2 weeks before the doors were to open, tragedy struck. We hear thunder. It starts to rain on the construction site. We see a body covered by a blanket being carried out of the factory by 2 firemen. I have in all capital letters, what?
This was when I was
so many
like,
exclamation parts.
Here we fucking
A bricklayer working on the last unfinished room inside the factory fell some 217 feet to his death.
It's So good.
At the funeral, we see Wonka console the widow, the woman's face hidden by a veil. As she turns to walk away, we see that she's pregnant. And I was like, it's gotta be Charlie. It's gotta be Charlie.
It's gotta be Charlie. And then you're like, oh shit. But you don't fully know. But you're like, Dad, what? Shit. Okay.
Wonka took the death hard. He was heard to say it was like losing a member of his own family. Wonka watches her a moment, then puts on his hat and walks across the cemetery alone. With the factory not yet complete, Wonka sent everyone home and locked the gates, and he disappeared. And it's just like a way more somber and like likable version of Wonka. He still did lay everyone off, but
but like again, kind of like I was saying earlier, like the motivations and the reason for leaving makes way more sense instead of it just being a weird mystery and he's just recluse. And like, I guess in some ways it sounds like Wonka like says fuck you to society, but this one is like true pain and the thing he loved caused someone to die. And now he's fucked up this family and now he like retreats. And it just makes it makes such a sense. Good like story to set up from the beginning, because even if you didn't know the plot, if there's someone pregnant, like you're gonna be like, that's gonna come back, like that's gonna come back, and you're like, it's Veruca Salt instead.
Then you get this hardcore line, all the while his factory waited for him, silent and still, a spectacular monument to broken dreams. Damn, Scott.
I wrote down that line too. I was like, that's vicious.
But then we get the whole thing where the Wonka factory opens back up and there's like tiny people in the windows. You know the whole thing. But I was writing here, which granted, we'll touch on this later, but I was like, wait, did he get the Oompa Loompas because he doesn't see them as people and would therefore not be guilty if they passed? Wild.
Well,
I don't think that is the case, having read the whole thing. Having read the whole thing, the Oompa Loompas in this are a menace to Wonka, but in a way that is nice. I don't know how to describe it. There's still problems with the Oompa Loompas, but I think this may be the least fucked up Oompa Loompa depiction by a good mile. Have you gotten to the Oompa Loompas in your read yet, Elaine?
No, I haven't, but you did send me some hilarious voice recordings giving me like little snippets of what was to come.
Yeah, so just letting you guys know ahead of time, the Oompa Loompas wear all music t-shirts from the 90s.
So fucking good. They do a lot of giggling. I did get to a point where there's just like a lot of mischievous giggling that cracked me up.
They do like that. Yeah, we got the whole who's working in there now. This goes on for like 3 pages and we have so much to cover. So the math confused me a little bit. The factory closed. There was 2 years of silence, and then there was implied to be 10 years of operation, which would have the kid at 12. So then I was like, that's not Charlie. Turns out I was wrong. So I don't know, man. I think the numbers might have just been a tiny bit off.
Maybe, I wonder how pregnant she was.
And maybe also I think the 10 years of operation may have been like over exaggerated, or I might have made that up.
Also a draft, though. He might have fucked up the math, too. So who's
to say? Looking up at the factory beyond the gates, we see Charlie, 10 years old, in tattered clothing and crummy shoes. And he says, "Are you in there?"
This Charlie is so depressing.
I will say, this is the big thing that bothers me. Why did Wonka not financially compensate this family? That drives me fucking nuts.
Good point.
That is the only problem with this, because
they should not be as destitute as they are. Yeah, there should be like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
He should be financially taking care of them for sure.
Oh my God.
And it doesn't make sense to me. That is the only plot hole in this.
I hadn't even thought about that, and you're so right.
If you could fix this. Sorry, I just saw a note that I wrote that just says Hillary Clinton. We'll get down to that.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, that bothers me. It never gets resolved, so we just need to be at peace with that. That is my main gripe with this. So now we're at the bucket house, a small, pitiful structure bordered on either side by a vacant lot. And now we hear, "Mother, breakfast!"
Whoa.
I didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth there.
Well, and that's the voice you have to use for the rest of these episodes.
Oh, God.
That's Scott Frank Charlie.
So Charlie's making pancakes on the stove. Oh, God, I forgot about his fever dream. I read this like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, my God. Bright and cheerful, Charlie flips pancakes at the stove. He moves to the cupboard to take down a bottle of syrup, and a box of cereal tumbles out. The shelves are so jammed with foodstuffs, as one word. Mrs. Bucket comes into the kitchen dressed in a smart navy blue suit and pearls. Okay,
that's why I wrote Hillary Clinton.
her shiny auburn hair glowing in the sunbeams as she smiles at Charlie and sits down at the table. "Here you go, Mom," Charlie says. Charlie then sets down the steaming plate of flapjacks in front of her. Another place is set across from her. Mrs. Bucket. Charlie, you're the sweetest boy. So at this point, I am thinking that Mrs. Bucket is going to be an evil girl boss Bucket. And she is like taking all the money from this family, and Charlie is having to be the Cinderella, essentially. That's where I thought this was going.
That would have fixed the problem.
That would have, if she blew all the money, if she was given the money and then she just kind of like fell apart after her husband's death.
I mean, maybe they did. Maybe that is what happened. Maybe Grandpa Joe gambled it all away. Maybe they got their house burgled. Like, we just needed a single line to
just
fix
one
this.
thing could have fixed it all. So he
head canon. They got destitute because they got burgled.
So Charlie sets a steaming plate of flapjacks in front of her. Another place is set across from her. Charlie, you're the sweetest boy. Charlie closes his eyes as she kisses him on the top of the head. Mrs. Bucket. What's this? He opens his eyes once again and looks down at the plate. Plate is in all caps
on a separate line, all caps,
single line. I've never read a script, by the way.
They're all like this.
Yes,
it's kind of a nice reading experience.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of enjoyed it. I was like, oh, this is actually a solid flow, and I enjoy this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this experience. So basically, the plate is like chipped and crusted, and instead of flapjacks, it's just a single piece of dry toast.
And the kitchen's fucking ugly. So
ugly and sorry looking and dingy is how it's described.
I think dingy is the word.
Oh, dingy. Right. Sorry. Dingy. I'm just thinking about boats. All the boats.
My only note for this section is, damn, this is brutal.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Really
like
brutal.
This place, honestly, this sounds like one of the worse off versions of this family.
Yes. So Mrs. Bucket is like, what is this? And Charlie's like, that's breakfast. And she's like, a whole piece. And Charlie keeps giving her pieces because like she has to go to work and he's giving her more. But then she says, what about your father? And Charlie looks at her and she was like, he may want something to eat. And then Charlie doesn't say anything, but just watches as she tears the toast in half and sets it down on the plate across from her. So at this point, I thought Mr. Bucket, because I thought the timelines didn't match up. So It wasn't Charlie and it was like a fake out. It was like a second new Star Wars series thing where like Rey just has normal parents kind of thing. But that's what I thought was happening. So I thought Mr. Bucket was like abusive or something.
Same. Which also could have solved the money well,
but
yes,
honestly,
same.
But none of the things people say lead you to believe it's not that. It's so confusing. And then I was like, oh wait, he did die.
I mean, we both went there, so that's something.
Okay. So it wasn't just me.
No, I was like father drama, and I was like, oh my gosh, we've never had like a bad egg in the Bucket family. Like, what a fucking twist. Well, okay, well, you know, but like abusive, drunk, like, kind of thing. Well, Grandpa Joe.
So Charlie, he has a Harry Potter ass room. He lives in a small broom closet off the kitchen and opens it. It's covered with old Wonka candy wrappers and news clippings about Wonka. A small chair is in the corner. So then he goes to check on the grandparents. We see a very old couple, both frail and nearly so see through their skeletal. And I was like, they're in two separate beds. They weren't.
Same.
It was just a long reveal. And I didn't read down further because it basically shows them. And then it like the camera flips around and shows the grandparents on the other side of the bed, which is really smart. And I think a great way to reveal it instead of just like going in the room and they're already in the bed. It's like, oh, this is cool.
You're like, oh.
Grandpa George calls Charlie Skipper. So that was fun.
Wild.
Charlie straightens upstairs at the back of his other grandfather who has not rolled over to face him. So like Grandpa Joe is like, I am not talking to this fucking kid. And he goes, what's the point? Go to school, study hard, play by the rules, also we can wind up like his father. I was like, so we have an abusive drunk Mr. Bucket.
Yes. And then it's just also interesting because in this scene, Grandpa Joe and Charlie don't seem to have a close relationship.
No.
Like, and Grandpa Joe is damaged. Like, he is not the happy, peppy grandfather you get in most of our versions. Like, in this one, he is
bitter.
Yes, he is bitter.
Understandably. But now that I know it's because his dad is dead, what's the point? Go to school, study hard, play by the rules. Also, he can wind up like his father. That is so sad. Now that I know what it's about.
That is cold, devastating.
The devastating rages of capitalism. Anyway.
Apple?
Or so we can or so we can end up like his mother working in a toothpaste factory. People in more in prison making brooms. The kid might as well stay at home and play with matches. Thank you, Grandpa Joe.
Oh my God, that was like, I was like, whoa, I love that. But
and then Grandma Josephine is like, ignore him, Charlie. He's a mutineer this morning. Have a nice day. Also, the mom is the toothpaste worker, girl boss, Mrs. Bucket.
Boom. I love Mrs. Bucket in this version.
She was great. She has an actual character. It's wild.
And she doesn't have a stupid moment of like, Charlie, do your homework. Charlie and Joe, we care about you. Nah.
Me and Grandpa Joe will make you happy. As Charlie starts down the sidewalk, trudges through town, he walks past the shops, the windows full of items he can't buy. Damn, bitch.
And then he has to walk past all these people fucking eating food like monsters.
A policeman shoving a donut in his mouth.
A kid wolfs down half a sandwich, then tosses the rest into the gutter where a dog quickly grabs it up and eats it.
And it's like the lack of food for Charlie versus the world's abundance, but in like the most obnoxious way possible.
God, yeah.
So then there's a whole bit where like smelling the air outside of Wonka's factory is like a tourist attraction, and they're trying to guess what the notes are. They're like, I'm getting cherry, definitely macadamia.
Right? I thought these were going to be the chocolate spies. I thought they were trying to like smell the recipes.
It was just a hobby. A hobby.
Which is funny because like in the book, Charlie is sniffing the chocolate, but the idea that like men with briefcases
he's at it
are
like a
just
greyhound.
Yeah, I was like, this is so bizarre. I would have loved to see this though on film. My God.
So Charlie comes to school. Kids on scooters of all possible descriptions.
Yeah, scooters was
of all
2001.
possible descriptions. If you can think of a scooter, they're on it. The one of them's got it.
They see like a posse of kids on scooter.
Oh yeah, there's so many like
oh my God.
Small transportations in this. He basically just shows he's an outsider, and then it's bring your dad to work day, and the kid's like, my dad is a fireman.
Oh my God, the juxtaposition here though, like talking about the fireman who saves lives, and then like we get to like also be watching like Mrs. Bucket in the toothpaste factory,
and it's like
and
Mrs. Bucket and hundreds of other sad looking employees walk up to the entrance of the Bright Mouth toothpaste factory while the kid's talking about how his dad gets to wear a cool uniform and drive a big red truck. So this is nuts. This is the toothpaste factory. So Charlie's mother sits at a long bench screwing the caps onto tubes of toothpaste. A sign on one wall says, keep smiling. Mrs. Bucket can hardly stay awake. She looks down the line and we see an old woman pause to crack her aching knuckles and one by one flex her tired fingers and yawn. Mrs. Bucket watches her and yawns in return. Which is like showing how there's no escape from this situation. Like it is a destined path because like, you know,
yeah, it's showing like this is going to be you.
Able. Yeah, it's not,
and it's horrifying, and like also just goes to show like how like I like this script because it does actually show the health ramifications of their situation. Like,
yes,
they're not okay physically.
The Buckets are not okay. So then she spots the toothpaste machine. So Mrs. Bucket stares in horror at the machine, but she tries to beat the machine to see if she even could, to see if there's any way she could keep up.
Which was metal as fuck, by the way.
And it was such a good storytelling way. And she watches the machine. She knows she can't possibly keep it, but she stops working. Her expression turning from panic to anger. She picks up a piece of cardboard, pulls a pen from behind her, and scribbles on it. She then climbs on top of the table, holds up the cards for her fellow workers to read. Union! Yes,
unionizing
bitch!
Mrs. Bucket is so fucking cool, great, and fantastic.
It made me so happy. I was like, best Mrs. Bucket, hands down. And it's like, she has this like fire in her that all the others don't have. And it made me so happy.
God, yes.
So Wonka's factory, he goes outside the factory. Charlie's there. He picks up a candy wrapper on the ground. And then a bus pulls up to the factory, opens the doors. No one gets on and no one gets off. And then it leaves.
And I was like, what?
It was like, cool. And then Charlie has a box of treasures where he just keeps candy wrappers.
Yeah.
And half a candy bar, a picture of his father, the face blurry. Then the grandparents start bossing him around, and then Grandpa Joe drops his spoon noisily into his bowl. Good God, the boy's not a valet. Which was fun. They all slurp their soup in bed. So then Mrs. Bucket comes back home, and it's implied she's fired here, right? They never say it outright, but that's what I gathered. I'm like, am I dumb for not?
No, yeah, her eyes welling with emotion. And then she goes on, the way she talks in this like next paragraph, which is this is so good.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bucket, Charlie, you have to promise me you won't take everything lying down. You have to fight for what's yours because no one is just going to give it to you. You can't let people treat you as if you're worthless just because you have nothing. Okay, but you have value, Charlie. You matter. Okay. So do you, Mom. Oh,
Bitch.
God, that chills.
Chills.
Got chills.
And then she goes to say something and she can't, and they all understand. And then she just says, I'm sorry. And she stares at the watery soup as a teardrop splashes into it.
I mean, can you imagine like they're destitute. She is the breadwinner and like she just got fired, but she stood up for herself. And then she's, oh God.
So Grandpa Joe, Charlie's like looking out at the Wonka factory over the window, and then Grandpa Joe's sitting up in bed. And he's one of the 4 grandparents awake, and he basically is just like, we don't know much about the people that work there. They're really short. And Charlie goes, that's impossible. And Grandpa Joe goes, yes, it is. And the scene ends. And I was like, thank you for the succinctness. So now we move to Charlie's walking home from school. He sees in the windows, we hear a faint sound, and it sounds like laughter. Then suddenly we see a small face appear in the bottom of the letter O, because there's like big Wonka letters that are windows, I think. I don't know. Looking down, looking right at Charlie, who jumps and takes off running down the now dark street. This is also the first version where Charlie has a conversation with a fellow child, I feel like.
Yes, I hadn't really thought about how he doesn't interact with anybody. And this was weird too, because I was like, are they trying to set up a love interest for Charlie? Because it's school, we're in the cafeteria. Yet again, everyone is just shoveling food around Charlie, and he like basically has nothing. He even looks inside the trash can when kids like are throwing away food they've barely touched, and he's tempted to reach in. And then he turns to where a little girl, purple ribbon in her hair, sits with her lunch carefully spread out on a napkin. She smiles at him, slides the napkin over to him. Charlie stares at the sandwich, the apple, the 2 cookies. Yes, he'd very much like some of her lunch. He looks at her. She smiles, a nice smile, but somehow humiliating to Charlie at the same time. This Charlie doesn't know how to handle kindness. Like, he is always
But I also
one
understand
giving.
Because he knows it so out of pity.
Yes, yeah.
And not out of, like, caring for him as a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which, again, was like showing that fiery personality of, like, you know, the Buckets, we like to, like, you know, we're our own people, and, you know.
The little girl asks him what his favorite band is, and he says, that's what he says. And then she asks if he watches TV, and he says, I don't have one. And she says, what do you do in your free time? And he says, free time?
So depressing.
And Wonka, he does have no interest beside Wonka, but I do believe this kid is real into Wonka. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we hear off screen, he's gonna open the factory! And we get that whole thing, and Charlie finds a crumpled newspaper on the gutter. Wonka factory be open at last to a lucky few. So we get the whole announcement. But this is the best part. Charlie starts to read the note about, like, the announcement of the factory. And he says, I, Willy Wonka, but then it transforms. By the light of a single lamp, Willy Wonka sits at his desk writing. His face hovering just above the light is barred in shadow. A half-eaten chocolate bar sits on the table in front of him, which I feel like we never see Wonka actually eat chocolate.
No, we never see him eat
so
anything,
much.
really. Yeah.
We see only his hand as he writes, so we see him writing. But we hear his voiceover. This is where I was like, oh, this is nuts. He picks up a silver cigarette case and opens it. He removes a tube of chocolate and takes a bite and resumes writing. We hear whispering, then giggling off screen. Wonka turns and looks back at the shadows. Shut up!
This was the part. This was the first thing that Felicia sent to me, and she was like, Elaine, I think you're gonna like this because of this fucking scene. I love this Wonka. Instantly, relatable. I like the cigarette case. I can't begin.
It's such a good idea. It's so
so
good.
fucking good. And it gets better. It gets even better.
We haven't even gotten to the martini glass.
Oh, God.
As the pen is dipped in the inkwell, a martini glass full of chocolate milk with a chocolate kiss serving as the olive sits behind it. And I just wrote the note, bitch!
He wrote in chocolate, and the inkwell is a chocolate.
Also,
martini
fucked up to see Wonka with chocolate milk, but I also fucking love it. A martini glass full of chocolate?
So fucking bizarre and beautiful, and like he's writing in chocolate. He doesn't have a pen. He's writing in chocolate, which has to be the worst medium.
Milk, which is the worst one as well. There's nothing there.
Wait, so he's writing with chocolate milk.
It's just like soaking in the paper.
We're gonna have to test this. Can you write with chocolate milk?
We need to get a calligraphy pen. We could, you know what? Do we make the shot-for-shot remake of this script? Do we be the people?
God, I'm ready.
We could do it with some of the Wonka scenes.
God damn. Shut up.
So the tickets go out. He goes, "Good luck and happy hunting, signed Willy Wonka." And then we get this man's loony. He's a complete nutball. He's totally insane, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Grandpa Joe's like, "Forget the chocolate. You get to go inside the factory. You get to meet Willy Wonka himself." They all look at Grandpa Joe, who's red in the face, sitting up in bed now. "Take it easy there, Joe. You look like you're gonna blow a vein in your head," says Grandpa George. And Grandpa Joe shakes his head and lies back down. Mrs. Bucket says, "Fine, your father call?" They all look away uncomfortably. Charlie says, "No, he didn't call." She nods sadly, and then he says, "But then we don't have a phone." Yeah. Which was funny. But I was like,
"Oh, right." It's interesting because I don't know. I mean, and obviously probably like visually, maybe we could see this more, but she seems pretty present. So this idea that like she's kind of created a reality where her husband is still alive is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and this is again why at this point you're still thinking deadbeat dad alcoholic, because it's
meant to be that way.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. But it explains why they have to talk about the Wonka factory in secret, because they don't want to like bring that up to her, which I liked better than just everyone's annoyed that he's talking about Wonka
all the time. Yeah. So Grandpa Joe, they're talking about like, well, somebody's got to find the tickets, and then we get a bright flash and a close up on two beady eyes, and I was like, don't do my man Gussie like this.
Yeah, don't do Gussie that way, Mummy Yummy Gussie,
Mummy Yummy. Mummy Yummy.
Yummy Mummy Gussie Mummy. Gets me every fucking time.
Okay. So this is where, I mean, I feel like we're like, I keep saying this is where shit gets wild, but man, what a choice was made.
Such a good choice.
He made such interesting and good choices with all of these kids that are so interesting. So basically, we see a thin, spare space now filled with reporters. Augustus Gloop, a gelatinous blob of a kid, sits on a slender couch sandwiched between his two pale, rail-thin parents. So the reporter's like, "So the boy likes to eat?" And Mrs. Gloop said, "No, he doesn't like it. It's not like he had a choice in the matter. His condition is glandular." And they have him on a diet of lettuce, and the reporter goes, "Lettuce and she goes, "Just lettuce." But of course, sometimes he craves something different, something more a part of the normal rites of childhood and passage. Hence all the chocolate bars. And then basically, the reporter says, "So you and Dr. Gloop are both psychologists." And he said, "Which is why we understand Augie's interior monologues so well." And we get an Augie here, not a Gussie.
An Augie. God. It's so...
So this is where we get passive-aggressive Freudian Gloops. Because she says, "Although my clients are professional people, while Donald mostly works with wealthy housewives who have trouble communicating with their help." Dr. Gloop says, "That's not true. I have many different types of patients." And she says, "Anyway, I was thinking that finding the golden ticket was tremendously empowering for Augie." And then Dr. Gloop says, "Like Freud said, there are no accidents.
And sometimes a chocolate bar is just a chocolate bar." What? So fucking funny. The German people are the Freud, like, chef's kiss. Well done.
So Augustus Gloop starts to eat something, and she says, "Think about how that's going to make you feel when you're through." And Dr. Gloop says, "Oh, well, fine. Give the boy an associative disorder, why don't you?" And it really villainizes his parents in a way that none of the other versions do, where it like kind of makes it clear that like Gussie's not the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it does still have the problems with Augustus Gloop. It's like the Oompa Loompas. Like, even the best version of Augustus Gloop is still going to be a little, you know, but I still like what they did here. So, it's only the beginning now. You watch now. So, the thing's over. Grandpa Joe says, "Well, it's only the beginning. You watch now. The whole world is going to go mad. And it's Wonka Mania time, bitch." Oh. And he says, "Put in the William Tell Overture, baby." So there's all ththese different scenes of the William Tell overtures, like a half-off sale at Bloomingdale's. People fight over candy bars. I was like, what is going on at Bloomingdale's?
I was like, I've never seen a Bloomingdale's go like be popping. Maybe early aughts, maybe it was, but
someone throws a tricycle through a window. 16 people were taken to local hospitals, most with minor injuries. Motel, New Jersey. This happens. A man is led handcuffed to a patrol car. In New Jersey this morning, a vending machine repairman named Eddie Solomon was arrested for robbing the First Jersey Bank. Solomon, please just let me open one more. It's reported that Solomon got away with over $6,000 and spent the entire amount on Wonka candy bars. I didn't know I could do a newscaster voice. That was fun.
That was fun.
So there's like a giant mountain of Wonka bars in the corner. In a suburb of Fort Lauderdale, a woman named Charlotte Roos claimed to have found the second golden ticket. That's a brand, right? Like
it is. Yeah, it is.
like right? I'm not.
You're not crazy. That is a brand. Yeah.
Yeah, a clothing retail chain, Charlotte Roos. a little fun nod there for the Roos heads.
God damn it.
But that ticket was fake. But now we get to the humongous estate in Texas featuring our lovely Veruca.
The family dynamic is stunning here.
A young woman rides a horse up to the main house, past the Rolls Royce, Porsche, Jaguar, and Mercedes. So, golden ticket was found by the 14-year-old Veruca Salt, the daughter of Vernon Salt, billionaire founder of Salt's Salted Peanuts. So then, the reporters are served caviar and blinis in the huge marble entrance inside. Is it blinis or blinis?
Bellinis.
It's blinis.
Bellinis.
Blinis. Blinis. So they were like, Veruca's not here, but her father is here. So she finds the 60-year-old man in a suit and a Stetson milling about shaking hands. His tie is bright yellow with a peanut pattern. And he says, I don't much like the word tycoon, Tamara. I prefer magnate or mogul. And then he looks at the camera and goes, flexes his bicep and goes, hey, we won. We're winners.
So wild.
So basically, Mr. Salt is incredibly exploitative of workers from Mexico and is real racist about it.
Mm-hmm.
But makes sense for the character and serves as a narrative opposite to Wonka, which I actually liked the choice of doing that because it's like critiquing him. It's not like obviously he's obviously
it's not like
in the wrong.
A joke as it is in like Roald Dahl books when he makes racist
no
jokes.
it is
this is like
it's
to show like this
that
person's
he
a
sucks.
piece of shit. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, and it also parallels with the union flashbacks and things like that. So like Tamara Toomey asked her, didn't Miss Galindez want the ticket for herself? And he says, why should she? It wasn't hers. I was the one that bought the darn candy wrapper. She just unwrapped it. And besides, my employees feel like they're a part of my family, you know? But they're working away under the wrappers of Wonka bars under the watchful eyes of armed guards on catwalks. And then she tries to shove the ticket away, like to hide it. But then the armed guards approach her, but she gets tackled. And then he says, it's not like I didn't take care of her. Know what I mean? And then he gives her a free bag of peanuts.
And he throws a $20 bill at her.
Yeah. And a free bag
How
of peanuts.
degrading.
Literally. And it was in candy bar number 3022. And she says, what did you do with the other 3022? And he says, donated them all to a local soup kitchen. Like he's totally lying. And then he goes, well, hello there, darling. And we whip pan as a beautiful young woman in a riding getup comes inside and stops inside all the reporters. And this woman is like, she casually undoes the top button of her blouse. And all the reporters are like, Veruca. And she's like, oh, well. And then Veruca is like, that's not me. And we see Veruca Salt come into another door, covered head to toe in mud, carrying a saddle. And she says, it's me. That's Joy, my stupid stepmother. And then Joy says, but we're like sisters. And then Veruca says, I hate your damn guts. That's this family dynamic.
Oh my God. I love the stepmom. Like, I hate her, but I love her. And then again, it's kind of like, so this is why Veruca is angry.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I understand why you're frustrated. So then we get back to the bucket house. It's Charlie's birthday. And, you know, birthday chocolate. My note just says birthday chocolate. We know this.
We get it.
He offers them the bar, but they don't take it, so he saves it. Now it's time for Willy Wonka's Next Golden Ticket, found in Manhattan by a Miss Violet Beauregard. So Violet Beauregard lives in a Fifth Avenue penthouse. She's 12 years old, a $200 hairdo, private school uniform, sits on a white linen couch. And she says, I used to be a gum chewer. The iconic line, you know. We now widen to reveal her mother, late 30s, in a dark Donna Karan suit, a hairdo that matches the daughter's. Beauregard says, I have to say, it was quite unattractive to see such a pretty young girl's jaws going up and down all day. And then Violet says, yeah, well, who's she to criticize?
Yes.
She basically... and then Violet calls her out for chewing Nicorette gum, and because she's trying to quit smoking. And Miss Beauregard basically cut a bargain that she was like, I'll quit smoking if you quit chewing gum, you know. And then Miss Beauregard is like, I would help her in any way I could because that's what best friends do. And then Miss Beauregard is like, she came to me one night and said, Mother, I have a problem. I'm so proud of her. So yeah, Violet is like a Mensa kid in this. She does 5 classes a day at private school, plus piano, figurative drawing, French, advanced viola, and equestrian dressage with Henrik von Zernich. Wild.
And she basically
does,
like
6 classes, but anyway.
She's like my Factory 4 Violet, because she basically has a drug problem, is like the entire way this is phrased. She's like, you know, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know that today I am free from chewing gum, essentially.
Yeah. And then she just like overshares too much information and then like disses her mom constantly. And then the reporter goes, what do you think of Wonka chocolate now, Violet? And she holds her hand out to indicate so-so. But her mother pushes down. She goes, a wonderful company before, and now with a great price to earning ratio to boot. So basically her mom is like a big time businesswoman. Like really she's the girl boss character of this and like is always on the phone scheduling meetings and stuff. And then Grandpa Joe says, what in the God's garters is she talking about?
Which I love that line.
Yeah. So now we're at Mike TV, and I love what they did with Mike TV in this version. This is, I think, my favorite Mike TV. He really humanized this character.
Yes.
So we're outside of a modest suburban home, and there's a little girl, and she says, it's not fair. My stupid brother never would have even found the ticket if it wasn't for me. And then they say, it looks like 13-year-old Mike TV from Pasadena, California is going inside Wonka's factory. So they get to Mike TV's bedroom, state-of-the-art clutter, clothes are strewn everywhere, draped on all the equipment, stereo and video equipment that seems to take up every inch of space. There is Mike TV, 13, hair in his face, Limp Bizkit t-shirt.
So good.
Limp Bizkit t-shirt.
Limp Bizkit.
Playing several video games at once. The TVs are all stacked on top of each other besides a chest of drawers. Aerial TV, new character alert, baggy jeans t-shirt, lots of makeup. Mike's older sister stands crammed in the doorway. Mike actually had a ticket a day and a half ago, but didn't realize it until Trudy came into the room and screamed. So basically this little girl, his little sister Trudy, is the one that figured it out. And she just gets dirt for it. So sorry, Trudy. And then basically Mike's parents are not home at all. They're like a real estate agent who does his life insurance, and they basically just aren't around much. And Mike just talks a lot about video games.
And Ariel does the majority of the interview for him, basically.
Yeah.
And then he talks at the very end when one reporter who's younger is like asking, what's your favorite video game? And then the list of video games are just
Corpse
intense.
Killer, Mutant Massacre, Shooter Man, Murder Town, Oblivion, Detonator 200, Hollow Point, Sawed Off, Over-Under, Gas Mouth, Dick Sickham and his dog Rip.
Which,
not to be confused with Nawesome, the one with the killer Rottweilers, Head Off, which is about to be banned in 27 states.
like,
And then he says, I just got decapitated and taste a swig of red colored Powerade. Icon. Wait, are they watching the
TV through a neighbor's window?
They're watching the TV through a neighbor's window. I didn't even notice that.
So good. So I did at first think that they were watching a TV in their house earlier. And I was going to be like, but Charlie said he didn't have a TV. But they are full on watching someone's TV through their window.
And Grandpa Joe just yells, turn it off at them. No, it was Grandpa George. Charlie's going around and shoveling snow. And there's an exchange where he says, a penny, thank you, ma'am. And she says, that's got a picture of President Lincoln on it. And he goes, yes, ma'am, I see. I don't know why that got me.
He's like, you gave me a fucking penny for all this work? Yeah, stupid.
And now we go Grandpa Joe standing by the window. Yes, standing. His dressing gown aglow in the moonlight. His long hair flowing around him. Grandpa Joe, are you all right? I don't think I've ever seen you out of bed before. And then Grandpa Joe says, she misses your father so much. She doesn't want to believe the truth. I miss him too. I miss his laugh. The way he'd come home and laugh the minute he walked in the door. And I was like, is he dead? Because I have not caught on to this yet.
This was when I was like, oh, yeah. And then, I conceptually understand that these are grandparents, but I forget that one of these pairs has to be the dad's parent. And we have a really good Grandpa Joe as a father moment here and showing the pain.
Yeah, he says, but he never laughed more than when he talked about the factory. Every night he'd sit down and tell us all stories about what it was like to build it. He'd tell those stories to you too. Charlie says, me, I wasn't born. He said, no, you weren't, but you were here.
And then boom, that's when it clicked. And I was like, shit, holy fucking shit.
Go. One thing is certain, stay in your bed your whole life, you never fall down, but you never go anywhere either. I'm talking about risk, Charlie. I'm talking about how in life a person's got to take a risk every now and then. That's what I always told your father. And he took risks all the time. I wonder what he would say if we asked him. Asked him what? If we asked him, looks at the factory, was it worth it? Whoa! Whoa!
And then he goes, we have to get in there, Charlie. We have to get into that factory. We have to know the answer to that very question. Was it worth it? Which then gives us such good reason for Grandpa Joe's extreme motivation to get in there. Like, I like that it's not just like, hey, it's cool, whatever. It's like, I
just think that factory is fucking neat. No, it makes so much more sense.
It's like, oh my God, this is so fucking good.
And he says, Grandpa Joe has the secret stash of money. He gives it to Charlie, and Charlie says, are you sure you want to spend your money on that, Grandpa? And Grandpa Joe says, have you not heard a word I said? Let's take a risk together, Charlie. You and me. Bitch! Ah. So we do the whole, he buys a Wonka bar, there's nothing in it, you know.
But they
open it, but they kind of laugh to themselves, which is kind of cute, you know,
sweet
about it. And, you know, Charlie and Grandpa Joe keep on laughing. So that's cute. Then the weather gets cold and Charlie's about to starve, so that's fun. And then,
like,
God, I forgot about this.
Die.
You know why he's leaving for school so early these days, so he doesn't have to walk fast. He's trying to save his strength. He doesn't think we notice. Oh my God.
He's literally dying.
Yeah, he's
before
dying.
Their eyes. I'm like, and no one at the school is doing anything about. Anyway, I don't know. Fuck the public school system, I guess. But
it's just like really sad for like 2 minutes. Charlie. There's some money on the ground. Charlie tries to reach for it, and then somebody steps on his hand. I was like, give this boy a break. But he gets the money. He goes in. He buys a candy bar. But here is the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have a secret Wonka here. We have a disguised Wonka, right?
So good.
This is our first disguised Wonka ever. This was the originator of the trope.
And he uses a classic newspaper. Just reading a newspaper.
We see the proprietor sitting in a chair. His face hidden behind open newspaper. It never directly confirms this is Wonka, but it is. Like, there's no way it's not. And Charlie is like, he's like, are you going to help me? But the man just like sits there reading his paper, and so he has to go get it.
It's kind of like almost like the first test of, is Charlie a good kid? Because the proprietor is just like, yeah, the cash register is open. Go ahead and put your dollar bill in there. And then Charlie doesn't steal anything, gets his correct change, all this good stuff. And then the proprietor is like, really? Like, are you sure that's enough? Whatever. And then Charlie's saying, bitch, you right. And then he goes back and gets another chocolate bar.
I'll get it. You know what? I think I will have another.
Treat yourself kind of day, you know?
So he opens it. And of course, it's the golden ticket. So Charlie looks up but can't see the proprietor for the glare of the sun and all the faces that now crowd around him. Go on and don't let anyone have it. Just run home now. I said that awfully, but that's what he said. It is Wonka, you know. So then they get home and we get this exchange where Mrs. Bucket said, I could send him to Aunt Alice's. And the Grandpa Joe says, Alice, she's crazy. Mrs. Bucket says, she's employed. And Grandpa Joe says, as a cat psychic. Okay.
Whoa.
So Charlie comes in and Grandma Josephine basically was talking about maybe we ought to do what other poor people do and start buying lottery tickets, which is basically the whole Wonka thing. So Charlie brings in the golden ticket and they're all like, are you joking? And he's like, no, I have it. And they're reading it and it's the factory's tomorrow.
Back here tomorrow. And then the mom and Grandpa Joe have a moment. And then the mom's like, you should go. And she basically is like, I can't go. I could never go kind of thing, which makes it sadder. But then also it's just like, you know, I'm not going in that factory is what she says. Oh my God. Yeah. And then Grandpa Joe, the old man they all look at Grandpa Joe. Charlie goes, Grandpa? The old man turns to look at him. Charlie goes, let's take a risk. Grandpa Joe takes a beat, nods. Right. Let's do that.
Oh, it's so good. There's like Christ. The recurring motifs. So now we're outside of Wonka's factory. And they're out, get lost in the crowd. And then there's a polka band playing, which that was like, why?
Amazing.
So then Augustus Gloop comes in. Augustus is secretly eating a Twinkie. Someone goes, there's the rich one and her mom. What a babe.
Yeah.
Her stepmom is all done up in tight leather pants and an Angora blouse, poses for snapshots. And then there's the brainy one, which I don't think is what Violet's thing was before.
Yeah, no.
Also, can we talk about how out of all the characters, he made 2 of their names start with V, the like least common letter in the alphabet?
I know.
It's kind of annoying because I mix up their names a lot.
Yep. I feel you.
There's the TV Kim. Now, there's the TV kid. Now, here we go. Mike TV comes zooming through the crowd on a skateboard. And I was like, you're joking. You have to be fucking kidding me. You can't. Incoming! He does a grind off the curb, then leaves off. He takes a Game Boy out of his pocket and sits down and starts to play. And I wrote Sky High Roger Kefley-esque Mike TV. It's so very like...
fucking good. Grandpa Joe yells at him and Mike goes, bite me, Pops. What?
I love this Mike TV so much. I'm obsessed with this Mike TV. So... We're almost reaching the end. I think we should go until Wonka appears himself.
Yes.
So, a door opens and everyone watches as a tall figure dressed in purple cloak and a top hat emerges. The figure flicks aside a cigarette. He takes a step, stumbles a bit, seems a bit unsteady, wears dark sunglasses under the top hat. And they're like, is he drunk? He then reaches into his clothes and lobs an object at the crowd, then another and another. And I was like, smoke bombs! But everyone like covers up, but then they shriek with delight when they realize they're throwing candy bars at them.
I love that.
And the figure says, hello, hello. He coughs a bunch, doubles over, writes himself against the wall. I have an announcement awake to make. The tour has been canceled. And I went, whoa.
I was like, holy shit.
And then he goes, just kidding. And I was like, I'm so gullible. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, right?
And he goes, but this is a big but, a really big but, a huge, very large but. If any of you kitties do not have your golden ticket on your person, you will not be coming inside no matter how much you whine, snivel, or beg. All right, then follow me. So like
instant anxiety filled me. I was like, in this version, did like someone forget their ticket? Which is the nightmare.
Now we enter the factory into a mile-long corridor. Charlie steps inside, the big metal door closes behind the group, and the cheering outside is abruptly cut off. All we hear now is a soft mechanical humming. Mrs. Gloop says, I can't see a thing. Then dim lights start up, old pipes run across the ceiling, and Charlie can hear the sounds of liquid surging coming within them. And they can't see Wonka, so basically they see the figure walking wrong after a clip, and he keeps running, and like they keep seeing him around corners. And then Mike TV skates on his board past the group, and I like could not get over it. I was losing my mind. They hear giggling coming from the figures as he teeters about, runs into a wall, and then falls. Everyone freezes, including Mike TV, who pops his skateboard. Is he all right? But then, from underneath the cloak, we see a tiny figure no more than knee-high and emerge and take off on a sprint down the corridor, while another tiny figure struggles to get free of the cloak, then takes off after the first one laughing. Charlie runs to the fallen cloak and picks up a tape recorder. And it says, no matter how much you whine, snivel, or beg, all right then, follow me. It's 2 Oompa Loompas in a trench coat.
So fucking good. 2 Oompa Loompas in a trench coat.
And then they turn around. A doorway down the corridor is open and a man emerges. He says, very funny, very funny. The group watches as this man, now swinging a walking stick, walks towards them, picks up the cloak and hat, and puts them on as he approaches, which seems to take forever. Wonka walks right up to the group. He wears, of all things, a Japanese kimono. And I was fucking losing my mind. I'm like, I can see this character.
I see it so well.
His hair sticks up. His eyes are red. It looks like he either had been partying all night or he just woke up. He says, I'm Wonka, the real Wonka. Thank you. I'm sorry about the episode out front, but I never locked the... Oh, never mind.
But I was locked in the... Oh, never mind. It's like...
Oh, so we got locked in the bathroom. That's why I was confused.
So fucking good.
So we hear odd laughter down the corridor. Wonka turns and calls off in their direction. Yeah, we all enjoyed your little joke. It was hysterical. So he's like, there's like this adversarial relationship, but not in like a he hates them way, but it feels like they're his annoying younger brother.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's a silly little sibling relationship that I like the hijinks. I like that they get up to hijinks.
So Wonka then says, anyway, I guess some welcoming remarks are in order. Brevity is the soul of wit, or lingerie, as someone once said. So anyway, to the own self be true, and of course people who live in glass houses dressed in the basement, which reminds me, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. And finally, this is something none of you should ever forget, a burnt cat will avoid a cold stove. And I just wrote like horny Wonka, burlesque Wonka. Like, what is that? I don't like,
yeah, like
but
the Wonka
also,
that watches Chicago in his basement.
Yes, this is that. And the thing says no one moves. Huh? Like everyone is just so fucking confused. And then now he brings out the metal cigarette case and opens it and offers chocolate to everyone.
I think that's a great stopping point.
I think it is.
God.
It is. 70 pages in. And the thing is we're not even halfway through the script.
No.
Because so much happens.
Fucking good.
I feel like I've had life breathed into me through reading this.
Yes. It's just all of these fun little changes. I love this Wonka. This is my favorite Wonka. And I haven't even read the rest of it. This is my favorite Wonka. I'm going on the record. Boom. It has been said. Cigarette case Wonka. Hot mess Wonka.
I knew as soon as there was the martini glass with the chocolate milk and a Hershey's Kiss on it, you were gonna love this guy. I think a Nick Cage Wonka would be great for this.
Oh
like
my
when we're like,
God.
how could Nick Cage be on? This is how.
This is it. This is how. Because we were so confused, and now it's like it makes sense. I'm in. I get it. So yeah, overall, I'm excited to dive into the rest of this, and I'm just. So Evelyn, thank you so much for sending this because I feel rejuvenated. The
second half of this is even more nuts. I enjoyed it even more. I granted, I also read it at 2 a.m. So I don't think that'll take away from it. It was work of art.
Beautiful. Well, so many different beautiful ideas happened. Do you have any prequel predictions?
How many could there be? Oh my God, there's so much.
So much. I think somebody is going to smoke a cigar.
Do we have that? I feel like
I don't know. It sounded like something we had.
I'm going to check. I was about to say someone smokes a cigarette, but I was like, no.
Cigar sounds familiar.
We did not do it. Do you want to put it in?
I will lock that one in then.
I'm going to say, what will I say? What was something that happened in this?
Skateboards.
No, that's not going to happen.
2 Oompa Loompas in a trench coat.
Actually, I could see that. 2 people in a trench coat bit.
Paul King would totally be over that.
Sure.
I fucking love it, man.
Who cares? You know?
Who cares?
It could happen.
Fuck it. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this beautiful, chaotic episode. And if you would like to get more little goodies and bits, you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Wonka Watch. We love to hear your guys' theories, hot takes, stories, anecdotes all about Wonka or what have you, because we talk a lot of random shit on this podcast. So if you want to reach out, you can DM us or you can email us at wonkarapture@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support this podcast and our candy-coated chaos, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/WonkaWatch. We are about to drop some hot shit over there. So now if you donate, you get a little Wonka Scholar certificate. You'll get a shout out on the podcast where we'll do an improvised song for you of varying quality. And we're about to start sprinkling in some other fun stuff. So definitely go over and check that out.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, we have a Wonka with a cigarette case, and it's going to be hard for me to say at this time, but I guess at the end of the day, it's not that important.
Even though it feels important,
it's so important.
Still not that important. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, unfortunately, in the scheme of life, this is nothing. But for us,
it's
it feels
everything.
Big.
So big, but it's not that important.
Mommy.
Bye.
Were you trying to do a last minute mummy yummy there?
Yeah,
Mommy yummy. Mommy yummy. Lovey mommy yummy.
Lovey mummy chocolate cigarette case yummy.
Bye.